USFL. Give me more block punts.
I love those camera angles.
I do. I love block punts. Most underrated play in sports. You don't get.
Oh yeah.
They literally nothing changes a game. A close game like a block. It's so demoralizing. It used to be in the NBA when people didn't dunk as much in the 70s. I mean, guys dunked, but a lot of guys now everybody can dunk. I mean, good God, John Morant's like spectacular. A big dunk in the 70s, 80s was like a game changer. I would go to NBA games. You'd get two. In fact, you'd go to the warm-ups to get dunks.
To see the dunks?
Now, block punts are the same way. Maybe there'll be a time we'll have 8 a game, but you get about one a week. Now, every other weekend in the NFL, you get a block punt. I love them. Here's the schedule.
All right, Maulers.
They got smoked the first week.
Yeah, they did.
Let's see.
You got to do better.
I don't have a team yet. All right. Michigan got beat, if I recall, this week. Didn't Michigan get beat up? I don't know. Tampa Bay, New Orleans Breakers. The Breakers logo is the Boston Breakers logo years ago. So I'm trying to get my arms around all this stuff. A lot of moving parts with the USFL. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we got games. All right. Joy, good week. Speak for yourself. Capping off the week. Here we go. I've seen in the playoffs. So, and I also think it's interesting. We thought Milwaukee and Phoenix were solid favorites. Both lost their number 2 player. So it's almost like the basketball god said, you know what? We're going to make it even more even. 2 years ago, we thought it was going to be the year of the pairings. Remember the year of parity? We thought it was going to be that 2 years ago. It's actually this year because Milwaukee and Phoenix are better teams. Like they've proven it over the last year, and both lost their scoring guard. So you're like, oh, wow. This is now a complete. I mean, I think actually Milwaukee's in a little bit of trouble because if you kind of look at what Chicago can do, they've got a bunch of guys that can get a bucket. They don't shoot threes, but that's okay because Milwaukee just lost their best 3-point shooter. So now it's just who gets the bucket. Milwaukee's not going to be dynamic enough to blow out Chicago. Chicago's not good enough to blow out Milwaukee. Those games are going to come down to DeRozan, Drew Holiday, Giannis, and maybe Zach LaVine getting a bucket. That Milwaukee-Chicago series now, and I would give Milwaukee the edge, Giannis over DeRozan. Those are going to be close games.
I love that the fans are responding to the parity as well with the ratings.
Oh, ratings
we asked for this in the NBA for so long, and this is the year. It's felt like this in all sports, and I don't really know why. If we take a bigger step back, maybe we'll figure it out. But the NFL did not have a really great team this year. The NBA does not have a great team. Lots of good teams, but the bottom is not that bad.
Yeah.
And the top is not that great. A lot of parity. College football. It's very interesting.
Parity works if you've got stars with it.
Yes.
Like the NFL's got parity, but you got stars everywhere. NBA's got parity, but Philadelphia's got like there's a bunch of stars. It's just what we don't have is a Durant on Golden State, where it's like, okay.
Right, and at the beginning of the year, you're like, well, the rest of us will play, but in the end, if we run into them, do we have anything that can beat them? No, not in a 7-game series. But you just don't feel that way this year.
Yeah, no, I think it's worked out well. I think the series have been. I mean, last night was great.
I think about the first round. We're never talking about the first round like this.
So last night, the T-Wolves completely melted. I mean, and as they're pivoting to their new star, Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
Golden State, Denver was a great game. It was tied up with about 3 minutes to go. And in the end, Golden State's shot makers are healthier, and Denver's missing 2 of them. And then I got Utah, which actually I thought they played great or well. But in the end, I mean, Jalen Brunson's playing out of his mind, and Dinwiddie's giving you 20 a night. And I don't think that's an anti-Utah vibe. That's a Dallas, like Memphis when Ja got hurt. Dallas is rising without their star. Everybody's up their game a little. I'm not here to bag on Utah. I think Dallas has been. I think Jalen Brunson's played. I mean, Jalen Brunson's averaging he's had 30 points a game with no turnovers.
Yep.
Even as much as you can like a Kyrie doesn't give you a lot of assists. He gives you some turnovers. Jalen Brunson's not turning the ball over. He's like an all-star.
I mean, there are no bad series. Even Heat Hawks, like
Well, we thought Milwaukee, Chicago was going to be a dusting.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Heat Hawks is very chippy. Even the fact that the Heat are dominating, it's still chippy. Sixers Raptors. Joel Embiid had in overtime had to hit a 3 to win that game. So even the ones that are far apart are still thrilling. It's great.
Feel your best with M-Drive, supplements for driven men. Do not let age define you. Brother Mitchell, of course, they wrote a book called Eat My Schwartz. He loves his Pac-12 football.
Yes.
And the Big Boys Club this Sunday, Fox Sports YouTube, 7:30 Eastern, Big Boys Club. All right, so the draft is coming.
Yes.
It's a lot of guys like you. It's linemen that don't get love. It's a lot of linemen. The quarterback class, it's not great. No, I had a Super Bowl winning general manager tell me, a guy I trust implicitly, Kenny Pickett's a third-round player.
Yeah, the quarterbacks aren't going to have many first-round grades. You might take them early because you want a quarterback, but the first-round grade thing is not going to be there.
My two GMs feel the exact same thing about Willis. He is worth a first-round pick. Remember, he only played 2 Division I teams, and I don't think he threw a touchdown pass.
No.
He played Ole Miss and Coastal Carolina and didn't throw a touchdown pass. So they're like, he is, people said Lamar Jackson was raw, but he was in the ACC. He was dialing up guys all the time.
The thing with Malik Willis, though, is that his size, right? People compare him to, he has the physical traits of a big quarterback, but he's 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
Josh Allen had physical traits, but he's also 6'4". Justin Herbert had physical traits, but he's 6'6". Now you have the big arm, but in a smaller body. That doesn't translate as well. So there's a lot of projection with the quarterback. So if you take one early on, you're just hoping they're going to be great.
Okay, so a lot of these teams, the Jets have a couple picks. Philadelphia has a lot of teams, Giants. A lot of people have a couple picks. Do you like Evan Neal for Alabama? Now, I don't like his feet.
He doesn't finish as well. So he gets into blocks really well, and then guys kind of come off of him late. But he's the best pass protector. If you want a pass protector day one, he's your guy.
Alabama left tackle, Evan Neal.
Yes, and he's played right tackle before and guard as well. So if you're a team that has a left tackle, maybe the Giants want to keep Andrew Thomas at left tackle, then you put Evan Neal at right tackle.
Yeah.
It's the finishing part of him. He gets into blocks really well. And then at the very end of blocks, guys kind of fall off of him at times. This class is very deep at the top, but it's not as good as, let's say, Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater last year.
Okay.
They're very good, but just not, I think, those two guys.
You get very sensitive with your Oregon players.
Yes.
Because you played there. Kayvon Thibodeau, he's got a brand. He's a little small.
What's wrong with the brand? I don't understand this. This is what the game is now. Guys have brands.
Well,
that to me feels like the people I've talked to that scout him don't worry about that.
What do they worry about?
I think they worry about just his ability to bend sometimes. And here's my thing: we use excuses for other players that we don't use for other players, right? Which I don't really get, right? For example, in Oregon's defense, he wasn't asked very often to go rush the passer. He dropped back into coverage. He played inside on rundowns. He played Sam linebacker. And for other guys, we use those excuses. Oh, he wasn't asked to do very much. When he was asked to go get the quarterback, he can do that. And so I'm excited to see what he can do in the NFL. He's got to work on his hands. That's a real thing he's got to work on. His hands are not very good right now for an elite pass rusher, but he has the best first step, and he can close the quarterback really well. So I'm excited to see him in a defense where he's allowed to rush the passer from start to finish.
Okay, one more draft thing.
Yeah.
When you look at the Michigan kid, Adrian Hutchinson, would he have been hard to block?
He has good hands in college or the NFL.
Well, I mean,
in college, he's advanced for a college pass rusher.
Okay, but that doesn't mean he has a huge ceiling in the NFL.
No, I think he's the most ready guy now
to play.
But KT and Travon Walker from Georgia have a more athletic upside. I think just can get better. Hutchinson is what he is now, which is good. If you're Jacksonville, you take him, you put him there.
He starts.
You'll get production right away.
Yep.
You won't have to worry about that. But is he as good as? Will he ever be an elite pass rusher? I don't know.
Now, why do you always talk about hands? Like with Adrian Hutchinson, you're talking hands. Why is that a big deal?
Well, that's what – I mean, if you can knock an offensive lineman's hands off, then you get to the quarterback quicker, right? I mean, it's as simple as that can be. And, Hutchinson's issue, too, is his arms are a little bit shorter than other defensive ends. And so, when you are – if I can get my hands on you first, I can win the rep, right? If his hands are shorter, that means I can get mine quicker onto him, essentially. But if you can knock mine off, if I go to punch you and you knock my hand off, you get around the corner quicker if my feet and kind of balance aren't there. So there's a lot of things that happen with your hands. And if you can't stress me as an offensive tackle really three ways, outside, inside, or through me, I don't have to worry about as much. And I think with Kayvon Thibodeau, he doesn't really have the outside pass rush like swipe move yet, which we see so popular now in the NFL, that kind of double chop thing. It's very important to be able to knock the hands off of someone.
All right, the center for Iowa is my most undervalued player. I said this 100 times in the entire draft. So Iowa does really well developing NFL players, like really well, considering they win about 7-8 games a year. So Tyler Linderbaum is the center. And here's what I hear. A little small, but great high school wrestler, great hands.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to it's going to fall to like 24, and somebody's going to get a 7-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah, he's small for center. He's like Jeff Saturday, Ryan Khalil, little Jason Kelsey in there. He's an excellent run blocker. When he gets on, as you see right here, when he latches on, you're done. But the center position in the draft, especially early in the draft, is kind of a luxury position, right? Most times, and there's a center draft in the first round, 5 every 10 years about. And we saw last year, Creed Humphrey, the best center, was a second-round draft pick, right? So it's a more of a luxury item. If you look at the teams kind of 1 through 28, they don't really need a center. They don't need a center. They could use a center, but they don't need a center. And that's why I think he might fall out of the first round, even though he has a first round grade. If you're Cincinnati, you just signed 2 offensive linemen. One of them can play